Peace and blessings, family. Good evening. So, as you all know, I'm always cranking out new projects, and the new one I'm cranking out tonight is the second interview. I've been basically started yesterday doing interviews with black couples because it's been a something we've been seeing more in our society. We don't actually show black people together or to be married and all that good stuff. So tonight, last night we talked to the cable lines, but tonight we're talking to the Shabazzs, and they're going to talk about their journey into marriage because they're younger. And so last night we had a couple that was together for 39 years, and tonight we're going to talk to a couple that's just got married. So I'm really talking about marriage because with a lot of work that I do, imagery is very important. So I feel like, it's my job to make sure that I talk about marriage, and that we get to hear people's stories who are actually married. And so that's why you see me doing these particular interviews, the Great Continuum, and we're looking at black marriage. So if you guys would roll with me for just a minute, I am going to pull on my latest guest, and I'm using like a tablet tonight. Let me even see what this thing lets you invite people on, and here we go. All right, so let me do this. Let's get on my nerves. Okay, y'all, so I'm gonna get my folks on here at the phone. So let me help them get online here. I'm gonna call my dear brother here, y'all. So give me just a minute. Hold on. Let's get them online. This is a young couple, so I'm pretty excited because I really want to know what they think. Okay, so are you guys online on my page? You see it? Okay, so at the corner of your page, there should be like a little box, and it has like a little face. You have to press that so I can invite you in to the live. Okay, and then I'll see it, and then I can say, hey, before I start building up the audience and stuff, okay, there she is. I see her on the computer. There she goes. So I am going to click on her and add you. I just hit the add button. Bring Khadijah on. Yes, I'm telling yes, bring her on. So did you get it says adding, and then you have to accept it, and then you come right on, and then we'll connect it. Okay, I hear. Yay! I'm gonna hang up the phone. Hello, right. Good peoples.
Hello.
Good. I love it. So y'all good? I want to make sure I can see both of y'all. I can see your beautiful face. Okay, they're getting situated, y'all. I'm so excited. So I just love this thing. So I'm doing this piece. I explained to you, I always explain to the audience that in my work, I work with a lot of young girls and, and also adults as well. And we talked a lot about how we're not seeing or hearing about black couples, like even in advertisement or TV or whatever, they don't always show us being together. Like black marriages don't exist. But I know that they exist. I know a lot of really cool black couples. And so tonight, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you both about your journey into marriage. So y'all, this is the Shabazz family. I'm going to family, right. The Shabazz family. So basically, my first question to you all, first of all, how did y'all meet? So I always want to know, how did you meet question.
Okay, well, we met through our works here, really in the Nation of Islam. It just seemed like we were always in the same space around the same time. So I was actually really close to Abdul's sister before I met him. So me and her, we did a lot of community service together, activities. We were friends. And that is how I met him, was actually through her. So it's our relationship. And then being that we're both very active in the Nation of Islam, it's like we were bound to just run into each other at some point.
Wow, that's beautiful. So when y'all met each other, the marriage was the first thing, or like, how did marriage come up for the two of you all?
No, ma'am. How it first started, it started off with her wanting to know her purpose. I saw a beautiful woman, but most importantly, I wanted to help her with finding out what is her purpose in life. So what I did was I gave her some information that I heard from a powerful woman named Dr. Ava Muhammad. And then after that, I did my own research. And what I did was I sent the information to her just so that I could help her. And then I just left the situation alone. But like as she was saying, we was always occupying the same space at the same time. So I would always see her. So then after that, we was able to have the opportunity to speak on the information that I sent her. So naturally that builds a interest in the person. It's like, oh, okay, this person is actually, you know, what's the words? This person is actually, you know, what would I say? Somebody who I can see myself with or whatnot, just based off the information and how knowledgeable a person may be. So it was just different things like that.
Right on, right on. So when you were both growing up, what were your thoughts on marriage when you were growing up? What were your thoughts about marriage?
Okay, well, I can say that at a very early age, I always knew that I wanted to get married. I mean, my parents, I came from a household where both parents were in the household, very loving. Always, my mother always told me stories about how she got married young and how, you know, they established a family, a bond. It was just something that I looked forward to. So I definitely had a positive outlook on marriage. I definitely knew it was something that I wanted to do. And in my mind, I was going to get married like, you know, fresh out of college, which is not actually what happened. But at a young age growing up, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
What about you, Abdul?
Yeah. So with me now looking at it since I'm older, I actually had a strong presence of marriages around me, especially me growing up in the mosque. Think about it now is like everyone was married, everyone. So that's all I seen. I saw husband, wife, children, and then both of my grandparents were married. My mother and my father was married. So now that I'm reflecting on it now, it's like, yo, I actually had a strong presence of marriage. And even at the age of 19, I knew I wasn't ready, but I was like, yo, I'm gonna get married. You know, I was on a mission to find a woman because I was like, I got to get married. So yeah, that was that.
So with y'all seeing marriage, what does marriage mean to you all? When you think of marriage, what does it mean? What's the purpose of
Um,
marriage?
that's an excellent question. Whenever I hear the word marriage, I hear the word contract. Now, it's not like an apartment complex to where you can get a contract, a year contract, and then they'll say, well, if you don't want to live anymore, you can opt out. So marriage is not like that. Marriage is more so of a lifelong contract. Whenever you go before, you know, God and the friends and the family, you say your vows and all these, you know, these beautiful words. Or what now you have to uphold what you are saying in front of God.
Right on.
So it's a lifelong contract with marriage. And then even with that, I know as a man, um, I'm not complete without a woman. And I'm pretty sure she's saying that she feel the same way. She's not complete, just being, you know, Khadijah without her other side, which is me or whatnot, because we complete each other. So if
Right
we
on.
want to be made whole, then I gotta have her and she gotta have me because she's going to teach me about the feminine aspects of God, and I'm going to teach her about the masculine aspects of God. And this is
Right
how
on.
you better understand one another whenever you're able to do that.
Right
Yes.
on. Okay, so with that being said, what about you, Khadijah? I mean, like, does that mean the same thing for you when you know, think of marriage? What's your meaning and purpose of marriage?
I definitely agree with the commitment and the bonding part. I think it's like you can reach, not saying man and woman can't be great, but it's like you can't get to your full extent unless you find what you're missing. And usually God sends that in the form of a person. So even with
Mm,
bond, commitment, I agree with all of that. And I also think that even with our bond and commitment, you learn that marriage is actually a beautiful struggle. It's like willing to
mm,
basically go hand in hand with this person and you know, the vows that people recite all the time, you know, for better or for worse, the sick or the health, rich or poor, you really get to see that in reality, in human form. And it's really a test of yourself, because you can see how much, and it's all a process of self-improvement. Because one thing I have definitely learned in marriage is that your mate will bring out all of your good and your positive, but your flaws will also be exposed in the process, because it is, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you have to come face to face with yourself if you're really trying to grow and try to improve.
That's right.
So you guys are a young couple. Was there certain criteria you guys were looking for in your mate? You know, in your spouse, was there some things you just had to have in this person in order to consider them for marriage? Like,
yes, of course, everyone has a little list, right?
Right.
So, I definitely always, there were several things that was important to me. I definitely wanted a man who was involved in my way of life. So I wanted someone in the Nation of Islam. I wanted someone who was hardworking, who was dedicated, and who really was about making a change in our community and with our people. So it was definitely one of the top priorities from me. And then some of the things that I just wanted was, I've always wanted a family. So I wanted to make sure that when I got married, I would marry a man who was interested in having a family, having children, someone who's very driven. Like, drive really inspires me, because it shows that a person can dedicate themselves, create a goal, and then literally work their way to that goal. And I think that's important, because, you know, the goal in marriage, you know, you come in at the level you're at, but you want to grow. And you do that by goal setting individually and with each other. So definitely a man who was in the Nation of Islam, who was a hard worker, someone who wanted a family, and someone who was very, very dedicated and driven to his own visions, ideas, and I will be there to help him achieve all of them.
Right on. What about you, Brother Abdul?
With me, one thing that in our courtship process, one thing that drew me closer to her, and that I had on my list, was someone who could actually and properly rear a child. And I saw that in just upfront and personal, how well she was taking care of her niece. And whenever I seen that, I was like, yo, this woman will be actually, you know, she will be great to take care of our children. And on top of that, she's a math teacher. And so my thing was, is that I would want my wife to be able to educate my children, instead of sending my children in these school systems that I know that don't have no good and no interest for my little girl or my little boy to come or whatnot. So with her possessing these qualities as being a school teacher and knowing how to take care of children, I would say, oh no, this is going to be a good wife right here. Also, you know, I'm in a community heavy. My thing was, I didn't want a woman who didn't understand the struggle as being a black man or a black woman in the hells of North America. So I said, I need a woman who is knowledgeable about what's going on. Because I just don't want to be sitting there. It's almost like I'm preaching to them and whatnot. They just look at me like, huh? I don't see that. I don't see color or whatnot. I'm like, huh? So no, I wanted somebody that understood what happened to us, knew our history and everything else. I found that in her. I wanted somebody who was just strong-minded, somebody that would help me. My thing is, I'm trying to build a kingdom. So I need that queen that's right beside me, that's going to be helping me build and just not sitting back and looking at me. So I found those qualities and those traits inside her. And so I knew she was the perfect one for me.
Wow. You know, you said something really key. You said in your courtship. So before you all got married, you did a courtship. What's that? Because some people may not even know what that is.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Well, it's actually one of our practices in the Nation of Islam is we believe heavily in a courtship process. So the courtship process is a way, it's kind of like what it sounds like. You take the person to court. You know, a lot of time in this modern day world, you know, it's so easy to get caught up on emotion. It's dating, you know, after 2 or 3 times, you know, sometimes you end up making a mistake that will cost you the relationship with the person. But in courtship, it's a way to protect both people, to make sure that intention is pure and to see if this person will actually be a match for me without getting things that cause blurred lines. So, for example, we go on supervised outings. So there'll be more than likely like a married couple that's with us. And it could range from a younger married couple, an older married couple. And we will go out and really take that person to court. You want to know what their intentions are, what are their goals in life, trying to really see if this person is a match for you. And sometimes, you know, it causes, it's not difficult, but you have to ask difficult questions. And those are important because if you skip over the difficult questions, they will always reappear or resurface, sometimes in the worst way in your marriage. So sometimes you don't want to necessarily ask the person, you know, how are your finances? You know, how are you at budgeting? Or, you know, what do you feel is your biggest accomplishment? And what goals can you see yourself in the next 5 or 10 years? But those are important because with those questions, you can really learn the person that you are basically wanting to be engaged with for the rest of your life. So I think it's important. It's a big decision because there's so much that rests on this. Like, this is the person you're going to have children with. This is the person you're going to make a vow with in front of God and the whole world. So courtship is really for the protection, but it gives you a better look at who you're marrying and forces you to ask those difficult questions.
Right. And I'll just add a small piece.
Please.
Yeah. The only thing I was going to add, I agree 100% on what she said, is very different than the regular dating game because the end result of courtship is marriage. It's not shacking up. It's not you coming to my house, we making babies, and I wait 10 years down the line to marry you. No. The end results of courtship leads to marriage. We don't play around. We get straight to the point. And if that's who the man want to be with or whatnot, then that's what we gonna pick, and we gonna keep it rolling.
So courtship has a time limit. You can't be courting for nobody for 10 years.
You know,
it's common law marriage.
I'm just being silly. But no, there's a time frame is what you're saying. You can't do that for a year, or it has to be like 90 days, or
no. I would say this now. One of my brothers or whatnot, in another state, he agreed with the father of the woman who he was courting. The father came to him, and the father said, "Look, I don't have a problem with you courting my daughter, but I want my daughter to finish college." So he was in a courtship process with her for, I believe, 3 or 4 years, because he agreed with the father that she will finish school first before he married her. Right. And that was the agreement between the father and the man. So if things like that is worked out, but if you just got a man and he's just dragging the process out and y'all not talking about getting married or whatnot, no, there's a cutoff. There's a cutoff, brother. I'm sorry.
I know. Okay, no, I was being silly, but I think that's a good thing to know.
Oh, yeah.
So does a woman's history in her family or a man's history with his family impact your choice in terms of marriage?
Yes, ma'am. It does big time. Give a little example, right? So if a man tells a woman, yeah, you know, I used to be a woman beater or whatnot, and a woman may address that. She may say, well, when is the last time, you know, you put your hands on a woman? He may say it was a year ago. So the follow-up question to that is, okay, well, if it been a year ago, when is the last time you've been in a relationship? A year ago. But he may say, oh, okay, well, you know, I changed, and, you know, I did this, I did that. But you will never know until you put yourself back into that situation. So she may end up, oh, okay, yeah, well, you know, that's fine. That was a year ago. You changed, get into the relationship. Then now she challenges authority in some type of way. But what he thought left him was always still embedded inside of him. So he puts his hand back on her. So yes, you know, you should check out a person's history. See, you know, what they've been doing before, who they've been with, how you used to live or whatnot. Because that, to me, it plays a big part of who I'm about to marry. Because, you know, there's a thin line between who you used to be and who you are becoming. There's a thin line.
Right on.
Some can click and you can go right back to your old ways. So, you know, I checked out her history thoroughly, and she was good to go. She was good to go.
I love it. Um, with that being said, when you both got married, did your environment change? Did your friends change, or no?
I wouldn't say my friends necessarily changed because a lot of the people who I consider close to me and friends actually are in the same lifestyle as Abdul and I. So I wouldn't say my friends changed. My responsibilities definitely changed. I would say that. So maybe it was less time that I had. When you're single, you have your responsibilities, but you're responsible for yourself. But of course, as your status changes, your roles change, so you're responsible for a whole other person. So I would definitely say my responsibility changed. My environment remained the same, and most of my friends still remain the same.
Hmm. So you mean you're around more people who are married now, or you still get? Are you still hanging around people who are single? That's what I kind of meant.
Well, I
Like,
will
are
say
you?
I will say that it exposed me more to married couples because once you get married, then yes, you are now engaging with other people who are married. So, the time when you just went out with your, friends, whether it was all sisters or he were all brothers, now we have the opportunity. Like we just actually came from our marriage retreat, our mini marriage retreat.
Mhm.
And, that was my first time ever doing something like that. So it exposed me to new sisters, and he was already very close with the brothers, but we all actually interacted together, and it just now we're doing a couple things. So it definitely
Right on.
exposed me to a different group of women, which I appreciate because we're all young, we're all married, we all can offer each other tips, keys, and advice. So I definitely appreciated the friends that I did gain after I got married.
Mhm.
What about you, Abdul? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say more so my language change. What I mean by that is that I was then telling my boys, I'll be like, oh, I gotta do this for my wife now. Or, my wife
Mm.
calling me. You know what I'm saying? Oh, hey, I can't do that, man. I promised my wife we was gonna go out. See, so my language changed. And
Wow.
once they've been at the wedding, seeing everything, and, I just had to kick it to them. I said, well, things are going to change now. Now it's just not me. I'm not moving as an individual now. Now I got to think about
Mm.
me and her. Now I got to check in with her. Hey, what's your plans for
Right
this
on.
weekend? Because sometimes she may have plans for us, and I just can't go out there with my boys and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch the game this weekend. Da, 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 da. No, now I got to check in with her. So the biggest thing with me is one of the biggest things was my language. The next biggest thing is my responsibilities and my duties. Once again, individual, I ain't worrying about nobody. I'm just taking care of Abdul. But now it's like I just can't talk that the man is the maintainer, protector, and provider. Now I got to live it now. And so
Mm.
now it's like
Real talk.
maintaining. What do maintaining mean? Well, maintaining mean now I got to look at my wife.
Mm. It's real talk. Wow. So with that being said, in your marriage, if you have disagreements, how do you work out disagreements? And if you seek counsel, with who and why? Did I get that? It's like y'all frozen. Y'all there? Uh-oh. They be back. All right, hold on, y'all. Oh, they're gonna sign back in. Oh, they're really good, y'all. Hold on. So they're gonna sign back in. So this is a part of the series that I'm doing around Black marriage and showcasing and talking to Black couples, because a lot of times people talk a lot about if they had a bad experience, then that be the experience, or some people don't actually know. Um, they don't really actually know people who are married, so their idea they get from marriage. Yep, just yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. All right. Peace. Okay, so they're going to sign back in. But what I was going to say is that sometimes we get these ideas of what we think about black marriage. They're going to sign back in. They're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but they're going to sign right back in because I love hearing young people figure it out. Like the couple last night, they've been married for like 39 years. So the young people tonight, peace, Khadijah. The sister that I'm interviewing with Brother Abdul, his wife name is Khadijah. And just to hear them figure it out because they're young, they're in their 20s and they're married. And so and they're figuring this out along the way. And so the question that I had when the screen froze, because I think that's a big question that sometimes we don't always get to ask, like in your marriage when there's a disagreement, how do you work it out? And if you seek counsel, who do you seek counsel with and why? And I want to hear what their reply was to that. I know last night when I asked that question, they basically kind of said some of what they said. They basically said that they basically are around other people who are married. They're around the people who are married. Okay, let's see what's going on because this is somebody saying that it's frozen. So let me do a restart here and see what's going on. We got like about 10 more minutes left of this interview because this is like supposed to be under 30 minutes. These interviews, getting information. So let's just see what's going on. And you may want to restart your computer. Okay, there we are. So I'm back up in this game. Sorry about that, y'all. So I think I'm not exactly sure what's going on with this thing. However, they should be calling back up in here. The beauty of talking to young people around marriage too, they get to also be an example to young people around. Okay, Brother Abdul, hit that button so I can let you come in. Okay, y'all, they try to sign back on. Let's see if we can get them back in here. Sorry, y'all. Let's see if I can get this back in here. If you can hit that little green button there, brother, you'll be back on the game, y'all. I'm trying to get them back up in here. I think I got like 5 more questions left and then we're done. But this is my series. And then also, also, thank you, Khadijah. Okay, here we go. We're gonna get this beautiful couple back up in here. Okay, y'all, here we go again. I'm gonna get them back up in here. So it froze, but we still up in the house here. Let's see. All right, yeah, they got it here. All right, yay! So the question before the whole thing froze and did whatever it did, the question was, when you all have disagreements, how do you work them out? And 2, if you ever seek counsel, with who and why? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, no. It makes perfect sense. So with disagreements, I know with myself. Sometimes in relationships, a person may always feel as though that you're right. I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. So what I do is I try to look from her perspective, her point of view, to see where she's coming from. Because sometimes I may just be going off what I think is right. And that's the problem sometimes. You think something is right, so you're just going to run with it. Or if that's how you've been taught and your upbringing, you think that's the only way you can do things. So whenever I sit back and I reflect, I'm like, man, she was actually right. Like, because it's like, this how I was raised, and now we should do things this way, and we shouldn't do it that way. That's stupid. It's like, it's a whole bunch of things that, you may be thinking of. But I think whenever you see things from another angle, and one thing my father always taught me was, he said, a lot of people always look at it from a tail's perspective, but never flip the coin and look at it from the head's perspective. So I took that approach whenever me and her have a disagreement, so that we can lay everything out on the table. We can say, okay, well, this is what we'll do. Okay, cool. All right, well, if we're not going to do it this way, then let's come to some type of agreement so that we can go ahead and get past this and we can keep things moving or whatnot.
Right.
The next part you was talking about as far as seeking counsel. Oh, yes, 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 or whatnot. There's a matter of fact, the regional minister here in Atlanta, Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad, He had over 30 plus years of being married. Now, me, I only been married for a year and a couple of months.
That's right.
So I'm pretty sure he done experienced something that I never experienced before in my life or whatnot. So he can tell me. And my thing is this, my ego is not too big to go to another man and ask him a question or whatnot. Because if I say that marriage is a contract, then I'm not going to let my ego step in front of my foot and hold me back from keeping my word bond to her. And that's what a lot of people do or whatnot. A lot of people, they sit back and go, oh, no, I ain't going to nobody. I don't need no counseling. But that's your first mistake or whatnot, because you don't have all the answers. So, matter of fact, we may sit down together. We have done that a couple of times and say, hey, we just talk about marriage, ask different questions or whatnot. But me personally, I have some people in my corner, like my father and another brother named Brother Dennis and Brother Andre. Man, I may just ask simple questions or whatnot. What are some things that you do that to make your house a home or whatnot? Because there's a difference. Some people's house may be chaotic, but I don't want a chaotic house. I want a home, something I can come home to and it be peaceful. So I may ask different questions or whatnot. And that's how I make it. I ask questions on top of questions on top of questions, and it's been doing me just fine.
Right on, right on. Anything you want to add to that, Sister Khadijah?
I would definitely, just to shine a little bit light on it, I always seek counsel, from God, sometimes even just praying on certain things and asking him to align you, make sure my heart is pure so I'm able to receive what other people are telling me. Because sometimes when you go to people, they tell you things you necessarily don't want to hear. So you have to first ask for your heart to be open, and so you could be willing to accept this guidance and advice. And I will also say I always go with my parents. I have very strong parents, very open parents, parents who are willing to share their own experiences and say, now, let me show you how you can do this 10 times better. So I definitely appreciate my mother and my father because they're very influential. When I need advice, just have a question, they always are there.
So that leads me to this next question. How do y'all been married a year and a couple of months. How do y'all keep celebrating your marriage? Because I think marriage is so beautiful. I mean, just in terms of when I see people who make a commitment to be with each other before the law and God and they're all of us. How do you celebrate that? Because that's such an accomplishment. I feel it's an accomplishment.
No.
How do y'all celebrate that?
It definitely is. Before we got married, one thing I told her I want to do was I said every week I want to go out to dinner. We pick a restaurant, we go out, we have a nice time. Now what we're doing is every other month we're trying to travel someplace. So we're celebrating our love wherever we go at. We just want me and her. Because my thing is, I told her, I said, before we have any children, I want to really get to know Khadijah. And she said she want to really get to know Abdul. Some people, they may get married and then right away they have children and they don't even get to spend that quality time with one another, because once a child come into play, it's a whole different ball game. That woman's mind is not really on the husband, really. It's on that child now. So I said, I want to celebrate our relationship. I want to celebrate our love. I want to have an anniversary all the time to celebrate our marriage or whatnot. So whenever we go out, just like the retreat we just went on 2 weeks ago, we had a beautiful time there. We done travel to different places. We done been to Detroit together, Chicago together, Miami, the West Palm Beach. We done been all over, whatnot, to different places, and we have more places to come. We already planning a trip in April to go to Barbados for a whole week or whatnot. So it's like different things we just planning, and we be like, yo, look, we gonna do this. We gonna have fun or whatnot. We gonna enjoy. Like that's the thing about marriage. You want to enjoy your marriage. Some people, years down the line, they try to rekindle their fire that they once had. My thing is, I want to know what made you fall in love with Abdul, and I want to keep that fire going, because whatever made her fall in love with me it's like, man, I got to keep that going on. So every time she see Abdul, I want her to fall in love with me over and over again. That was one key thing my father told me. He said, if you was to, for whatever reason, pass away or whatever the case is, he said you wanted to be hard on another man to step in Khadijah's life. Because the only person she would want is Abdul. Right, and so I kept that at the back of my mind. I said, well, I'm going to exercise that all day long.
I love it. I love it. So here's the next question. We got 2 more questions. I'm going to let y'all out of here. So one says, what works in your marriage? And I think you talked about that a little bit. So the question is, what works in your marriage? What are you improving on in your marriage? And what things you just had to flat out like eliminate, like that don't work?
Okay.
So we don't do that part.
The thing that works in our marriage, and this is almost like a logistical thing, but I noticed that it just works for us, is when we are consistent and organized. It helps us so much. Like, we have a calendar up in our room because we're both are very busy people. So we started noticing that, you know, we would have all these plans, but it wouldn't be, you know, mapped out to the best where we are considering each other. So we found that, you know, it actually was Abdul's idea. He came and get props. So, you know, he came and was like, we're gonna put a calendar. So it's easy for me to see on a Thursday or a Friday, or then when I see a gap there, I'm like, time, there we go, plan a date night, or do this, or work on this project together. So it's kind of logistical, but I have learned that it helped us move our life through so much smoother. It's no bumps. We know what we need to do. We know our responsibilities. We know what each other are doing. So that definitely helped us. One thing that we are attempting, or we're trying to improve on, you know, I will say early in our marriage, you know, after all the dresses are gone, the bridesmaids, the wedding cake is eaten, like, you walk into that place and literally it's just you and your spouse. And you got to find a way to make it work. So you will sometimes bring what you have been doing in your, you know, single life into marriage, and you will quickly find out that doesn't work. So an example of that could be, I definitely would say our communication. Like, before, if you were single, if you didn't necessarily agree with someone, I mean, you would just stop talking to them, right? You would just let some time pass until y'all both cool down. But one thing that we are definitely trying to always improve on is communication. Because, I mean, I know that sounds cliche. Like, I understand it does sound cliche. But it is so important and vital for your marriage to be a success. And we realize that the more we communicate, because sometimes, you know, as women and as men, we see things from 2 different angles. So he might be like, why doesn't she understand? And I'm like, how can he not see? It's so clear to us, but it's not clear to our partners, right? And then when he go talk to other men, they agree with him, right? So one thing that we have found, that communicating, don't just assume. Like, sit down, if you need something or you want something, you have to verbally and explicitly say that, so that the person is aware. So that is one area that we are always constantly trying to improve on.
Anything you want to add to that, Brother Abdul?
She summed it up great, but I would add this. One thing that helped us is we allow each other to exercise our roles. And somebody may ask, well, what do that mean? You know, women, they have their own duties, and men, we have our own duties as well. For prime example, if the trash needs to be needs to be, you know, taken out or whatnot, it's a respect thing. My wife knows she would not take the trash out and then take it to the dumpster. Why? Because she know that that's my job. See, whenever you have a duty and you are staying in your lane and you are playing your part, things go a whole lot smoother. And this is how you have the arguments if somebody else jumps in your lane. So my wife know how to play her part and stay in her lane, and I know how to play my part and stay in my lane. One thing I know inside the house not to touch is the bathroom. You know why? Because she got all her things up and this and that. And the thing about it is,
I love it.
Even if I clean the bathroom up, right, I may be doing her a disservice. And I know this is her job. This is her area. Why? Because I may put her makeup in the wrong spot. I may put this in a wrong spot, that in a wrong spot. So when she comes back to look for those things, she's like, where's all my stuff at? And I may throw something away because I may be like, but not the slightest. But she may be like, Abdul. And, and see, that causes arguments whenever you don't stay in your own lane. So I did that one time, and I was like, I ain't doing it again.
Right,
I'm
you
gonna
gotta go back.
I'm gonna let her be, let her do her thing or whatnot. And whenever we did that, things started to smooth. It started to smoothen out, running its own accord or whatnot. And so I know my part in my house. She know her part, and when we come together, man, we make magic happen. It's good.
Okay, before I get to my last question, you just made me think of something. What do you do when people try to tell you that that's oppressive, or that's, what do you do when people try to take their idealism and put it on your marriage? What do you do with that? Because we live in a society that does it all day long.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Right. I agree. And especially coming from, women in the Nation of Islam, like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan always gives us beautiful advice, especially on marriage and on roles in women and men. And one thing that always stuck out to me is when he said, the home is not the woman's place, but it is her base. So it's the base that she works out of, and I think that some people, especially being a Muslim woman, some people see things as oppressive, and there is no compulsion in Islam. So the things that I do is because I love to do them. See, it's not oppressive to me to clean my home because I like a clean environment. And it's not, oppressive for me to practice my skills in cooking and sewing and rearing children. That's not oppressive to me. Those are vital skills that you need to survive. When you have to depend on other people to rear your children, to make your clothes, to grow and cook your food, then that means your survival is dependent upon another person. And I've never wanted that. So that's why I'm so grateful for the Nation of Islam and our Muslim Girls in Training, our MGT class, because it is a place where I can learn skills. The things I learned in my class, I don't learn anywhere else. So I talked to my coworkers and they're like, what you do on Saturdays? I was like, I attended MGT class. And I tell them different things we learn. And they're so impressed. They're like, what organization or what is this? I want to learn this. And because it's really a lost art, it's frowned upon. Like, what do you mean you cook? Like, it's a lost art in society. So I definitely don't find it oppressive. I actually find it as a way for me to cultivate and learn my own skills so that when, God blesses me to be able to reproduce ourselves and children, I will have something to pass on to them.
Right on, sis. Right on. So what advice, the final question is, what advice would you give to single people who are looking to get married?
Good question. I would say be the best version of yourself first, which means go through self-improvement, self-development, finding out who you are. Don't take on the attitude, what you see is what you get. Because a lot of people, they come with that attitude. Oh, well, I'm me and that. If you don't like me, then you can leave. Well, there's a lot of things that you can improve on before you get into this relationship. And I know one thing is a lot of people, they come with baggages, but it's baggages that they actually is holding on to. Those are not things that may have scarred their life that, that's just what happened or whatnot. But a lot of people, they just holding on baggages. But like, yep, I'm taking this one to the bank and I'm cashing it with me. If you don't like me, then you can leave. But whenever you come into the knowledge of yourself and you like really studying or whatnot, you can give yourself fully to a person or whatnot instead of giving them a old version of give somebody a new version of you or whatnot. And that's the thing that I was doing or whatnot. I was reading, I was studying, I was learning myself or whatnot. Before I got into the courtship process and things like that. It worked best for me. And even something else I would give them is they have to understand that marriage is not no easy big thing. Something that you can just put in the microwave, put 2 minutes on, and then marriage comes out and it's perfect.
Instant marriage.
Well done. And it's like
marriage.
Instant marriage. You have to understand that. You have to be able to trust the process, but not just trust the process, trust the God who created the process, because the only thing that he's doing is he's shaping you, or he's shaping that woman into the person who he intends for you to be.
That's right. And I would definitely agree with trusting the process. You know, some people think marriage is um, like it's the end. You know, like I got married, so I checked that off my checklist. I have accomplished that goal. But marriage is not something that you just check off a checklist. It's a constant, everyday, really battle and struggle with yourself and with your mate. But there are so many highs in marriages. So that's why to be patient with the process is important. And then realize that, you know, marriage is kind of like, you know, a washing machine. It's rough in there. You're going to turn around and stuff, but at the end, you're going to come out clean. So as long as you are a person who is dedicated and willing to go on this journey of self-improvement, because it will force you to improve yourself, your character, and your flaws, as long as you are willing to go through that, then your marriage can be successful. So I would tell any person that's wanting to get married, especially the young, you know, because, you know, it's more of a, seems like a trial for the young to say, am I going to be committed for the rest of my life to this person? But I would definitely let them know to be patient with the process, trust the process, and be willing to go through the struggle with your partner.
That's right.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was like a beautiful final answer. Thank y'all for joining me and talking about marriage and God, God bless y'all. Like I'm always so impressed when I talk to y'all. I'm like, wow.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank
I
you for
wish that
having
when I'm
us.
talking with young people and they're talking about marriage, I'd be like, God, I wish Brother Abdul and Sister Khadijah was here. Because I think you have to see young people going through it. And, you know, you said some key words. Commitment was definitely one of them, but you also talked about trusting. And I love when you said marriage is a beautiful struggle and it's nothing that's instant. You know, we live in a society that it gets more instant by the moment. But for some people, but then when you learn to trust the process and slow it down, because I think we're designed to be with someone. Like we come in the world alone, if you will, you know, but it takes a group process even for you to be born, to be very honest. So, you know, like I heard this is just awesome. Thank y'all so much. I'm just so excited.
Thank you for having us.
Is it raining out there in Atlanta?
Not now. It's a little cold, but it's not raining.
Okay, I just asked because, you know. Thank y'all. Thank you for hanging in with me, and I'll talk to y'all soon. And also, y'all, this is the couple. When you see me advertising that had living married, this is the couple. Is their brand. So we gotta support living married. I think that is so awesome. So tell us really quick before we go about that. Why did y'all do that? Why did you do that brand?
Okay. So quick. So I seen it was a hat that says "Living Single," and you know, if you yes, right. So now, if you want to break a people down, or if you want to destroy a foundation or whatever it is, or just take down a nation or whatnot, you destroy marriage or whatnot. You destroy a home that have a male figure and a woman inside the home, a strong woman inside the home. So I saw a hat that says "Living Single" on it. So I said, I got to reverse that. Instead of putting "Living Single" on a hat, I need to put "Living Married" on the hat. And the goal and the objective is to touch people all over the world. This is why we make our own video on our Instagram. It's at "Living Married" or whatnot. We make this so that the world can see that we are pushing marriage. This is something that we about. This is something that we live. And if you're thinking about it, you can do it or whatnot. You can do it. So we're trying to push marriage all over the world. We're trying to get rid of this myth. There's a lot of young people who are saying, oh, I don't know, like she said, I don't know if I'm committed. I don't know if I want to do it or whatnot. How can you be with somebody for the rest of your life, just the same person? Isn't that boring? So we trying to answer all those questions or whatnot. We're trying to bust up the myth, whatever type of thinking that you have about marriage that is boring, is not fun, and this and that. No, we trying to change the wave. We're trying to change the culture or whatnot, because the generations coming after us or whatnot, if they see nothing about divorce and nobody's married, that's gonna be their thing. That's gonna be their thing or whatnot. So we
trying to change
everything. Yes,
Is there a
ma'am.
website?
So the
How do people, what's the website?
yes, ma'am. The website is livingmarried.org. Livingmarried.org.
Yes, and our Instagram page is living_married.
Mm-hmm.
Living underscore. I don't know why.
Married.
Okay. Married. And that's Instagram?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
On Instagram. Okay. All right, I put that in the comments because I want people to go and check that out. Okay, hold on, it don't look right. So I got this new little gadget, and I'm not really liking it that much because it's making me feel very slow. But I'm gonna share that. I am.
Thank you
But
so
I'm
much.
gonna share that. So yeah. So thank you all so much. And I'll
Thank
definitely be
you.
in contact with you all again. Every time I do an ad for the next couple, you'll see your living married hat, but I'm also gonna put your website down at the bottom of it. Because
Okay,
I do that
great.
with an
Thank
app
you.
that a young person showed me on the phone.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
like when
Thank
young
you.
people keep me up on my game.
That's
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you all so much. Have a good
you.
night, and I will talk to y'all again soon.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
ma'am.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye-bye.
night.
All right, good night. Okay, y'all. So I'm putting on this living married on here at the bottom. .org. Go check them out. Support this young couple. We really got to support the things we want to see that we know is good for our community. So, all right, family. I'll be back in about 30 minutes.